Good gardening, people. Today we're working outside. It's a beautiful day here in the spring. Although so far it's turning out to be a cursed job show. We had technical troubles with first the sound, then the computer went down, but we scrounged real fast and we got a substitute. Today we're going to be working with succulents. Succulents are also known as cacti, although not all succulents are cacti. I'm going to be showing you a few tricks on how to do transplanting and cloning of them. They tend to be plants that you have to bring indoors during the winter time, and after a year's growth in a pot, they sometimes have made a lot of little babies that are ready to be transplanted into something else. And so I'm going to be showing you how to do that. I have a few samples that I'm going to just show you real quick. This is a Christmas cactus. It's a very easy to grow plant, makes beautiful blooms in the middle of wintertime. It prefers the indoors and a sunny window, but it can't take the cold. So unless you live in a very southern zone, this is one you can't plant outside. It doesn't like too much sun, but it also doesn't like it too shady either. So you need to kind of find a sunny window. And it's a great one to have for an indoor decoration around Christmas. This one makes both white and red blooms. It's a very pretty plant. I highly recommend them because they're so easy to grow. This fellow right here is one I picked up in a container store. I've forgotten what the name of it is, but it was a pretty little segmented cactus. It's totally outgrown its pot, and I'm going to be cutting it today and showing you how to make a few dozen cactuses out of just one. We'll be doing that close up a little bit later. This little fellow is also one I picked up at a container store. He's already got two little babies ready to go and start new cactuses with. I guess it's in the Saguaro Cactus family. He's a kind of a miniature version of that. I think it grows in Texas. It's got some very sharp thorns. It just poked the heck out of me. This particular one is called the North American prickly pear cactus. And believe me, it earns its name. Not only does it have really long, sharp points on it, but it has little tiny fur-like thorns on it that once they get into your skin, make you itch for days. Now, why would you want a cactus like this? This is the only cactus that'll grow north of zone 4. It can stand frosts down to around 0 or even below. So this is one you can grow outside. Makes beautiful yellow flowers in June, and is easy to keep and reproduce. So if you want to have a big outdoor cactus garden and you don't live in southern Arizona, this is the cactus you want. We're also going to be cutting some of it off because, as you can see, it's way outgrown this pot. This fellow right here is a very strange plant. It likes extreme shade. You can put it in even a shady window in the house. It doesn't grow very fast, but it grows real long runners, and those eventually turn into these leaves, and it makes a beautiful flower about once a year if you treat it right. I like it just because it's a very strange looking plant. It was a gift from my mom. My grandmother used to grow these, and she was always tickled pink when she'd get a flower on it. I'm going to try and cut off some of the top of it and see if I can get it to root, because most succulents don't need a whole lot to root. You just cut off a piece of them, put a little rooting hormone on it, stick it in dirt, keep it watered, and usually they will take off as a new plant. I haven't tried this one before. We're going to experiment with it. This right here is the one that you see in the background in most of my shows. It is an aloe vera plant. I started with one plant about 5 years ago, and it's made literally hundreds, if not thousands, of plants by now. Every year, it totally fills up every pot I have, and I have to scrounge for more pots to keep separating it out. It's a oil that's really good for your hair and skin. I highly recommend growing it if you have any women in the house that want to use it for beauty aids, but it is a bit finicky. Doesn't like too much sun, doesn't like wind, doesn't like it when it's too hot, doesn't like it when it's too cold. But if you put it in a sunny window in your house, it will take off like a weed, and you will have a lifetime supply of aloe vera even from just one of them. I probably am not going to repot it today because I already have 500 of these growing in pots. This last one is a gift from my nephew. He brought it to me and says, I have a cactus and it has some kind of strange disease. Well, those are key words that whenever I hear, I know it means it hasn't been feeding the plant or giving it proper light. Well, it's taken off in the last 2 years. I already have 2 buckets of this stuff. I'm about to turn it into 3, but it grows really tall, kind of like the saguaro. Only, as you can see, it's got some really weird looking features and grows kind of brain-like structures out the sides, as well as tall things that tend to grow straight up. Again, this is one I'm going to make a little display out of in just a minute here. So here we have our little workstation so we can do close-ups. I recommend when working with cactus, don't handle them with gloves because you'll still wind up with thorns all in your hand in the gloves. You're going to want a pair of tongs. You're going to want a very sharp knife. Okay, got one of those here. And a pair of scissors doesn't hurt. At any rate, those are your basic tools for maneuvering the cactus around. Also, you're going to want some Osmocote fertilizer, our fish fertilizer that we love, and some humic acid, which is the rooting hormone. Cactus live pretty well without roots. They can live a long time without roots. They're the one plant that lives more in the top than in the root. They're the exception to the rule. At any rate, I'm going to take several different cactuses, put them together in one pot, make a little arrangement here. Here we have a pot that I've already added perlite, that's the white stuff, and I've added calcium, sweetened soil. It's all ready to go here. I've got some extra potting soil in the background to kind of bury it with. While I was moving the little cactus, he kind of fell off. He's been ready for transplant for some time. Oops. See that little fellow there? I'm going to put him in several pots, but a piece of him is going to go in here. And note, I am not handling him with my hands. I'm going to dig a little space. What did I do with my trowel? Oh, it's down there. I'm going to dig a little space. Put the plant in like so. Doesn't take much to root him. Just kind of bury one of the extensions. And so we have him in there. Okay. We're going to go ahead and put another section of him over on the other side. And those will continue to grow and get a lot larger. The original's still in the pot. We will be doing something with him eventually. Okay. The other cactus that I plan to do some cuttings on is this tall saguaro that has a couple of babies on it. Can you see the top of that? How about now? Can you see both things in the shot? Okay. So what we want to do here is gently hold the cactus and then gently try and cut it. This one's kind of wobbly, so I'm going to go ahead and use the scissors on it. You want to try and cut them off right about where the new growth is taken in, like so. And then find a nice spot for them in the arrangement. Stick them in there, like so. Same with this other baby here. This one's already starting to make another baby for this year. This one's a much slower growing one than the others, but I like them. So now this one has 2 wounds, but they'll close up on their own. Don't have to be concerned about that. And then we have this last big fella here. He's got a lot of extensions growing on him. See him right there? We're going to cut a bigger section off of him. And I'm not even going to go for a segue. I'm just going to cut him right in the middle because I've broken this thing off several times and it always seems to grow back. So we'll put him here in the middle. So I'd have to bury him a little bit deeper. One of the reasons I have these shells around here is to help hold up cactuses that are difficult to get to stand. I still have a little bit more space here, so I'm going to fill it in first of all with probably another one of these sections here off of this thing. And then we have one more cactus that we're going to add in here. Standing on the wires. This fellow. You'll finish off the arrangement. This is the one you definitely don't want to handle with your hands. He will make your life miserable if you try it. So I cut off a goodly section. Oops, darn it. Dig a hole for him. The word ouch happens a lot when you're working with cactus. And now we have a little arrangement that will grow into a real pretty little display. Now what you can do with this bucket here that I've put this in, if you want a cactus garden outside with all manner of cactus in it, put them in little buckets like this. Make sure their holes are drilled in the bottom so that there's good drainage. And then you can go out and bury them in the yard up to where the bucket starts and cover the whole thing over with gravel up to where the cactus is sticking out. Then they can grow outside all summer. And then when frost is coming along, you can dig the bucket up, bring it in the house. So it becomes kind of a mobile cactus garden. That's what you want to do if you're living in colder climates. Is the only cactus in this group here that'll survive the winter is this one. That one can stay in the ground outside all year long, but most other cactus, just about every other cactus that you see at a store, cannot stand below freezing temperatures and actually starts to suffer below 45 degrees. How much? Okay, so as you can see, I have a little multiple segment tray here. That's going to be for all these little tiny cactuses that I want to do individual starts from this bad puppy right here, because he's so big now, he's falling out of the arrangement. So I want to make a whole bunch of little ones. You can give them to friends. And if you don't like them, you can give them to your enemies and say, be sure and pet it every day. So first thing we're going to do, cut off a little section, dig a little hole, stick it in. Doesn't have to be very deep, just deep enough for it to find itself some roots. I guess if you wanted to, you could start your own cactus farm this way. I certainly started an aloe vera farm accidentally. I guess I'm working on doing it with cactuses next. Come on. All right, you need scissors. This is why I say you need a really sharp knife. Note that all of these containers have a lot of perlite in them. Cactus needs to be well drained. It likes regular soil. It doesn't necessarily have to grow in rock or sand like you see in all the movies, but it does need to have something where the water passes through it quick. Cactuses like it dry. They don't need to be watered very often. Of course, I used to tell that to people and they think that meant you never water them. No, they do need to be watered on occasion. I would say the best way to tell if a cactus needs to be watered or not, stick your finger in the soil, carefully avoiding the thorns of the cactus. And if the soil is bone dry, give it a little bit of water. It's usually about once a month is a good rule of thumb. Certainly doesn't need it much more often than that. And this fellow's starting to look like he's getting a good haircut. I've already planted a lot of my garden in similar containers to this. In the background in some of the shots, you'll see hay. That's where they'll be going in the ground once they've established themselves as plants. I'm also working the other garden. Haven't put hay down on it yet. In fact, that big bale of hay I was standing behind is going to be what covers that part of the garden. Now, why would we raise cactus? I don't know. Why would we raise anything? I just happen to like cactus. I find them to be kind of a friendly, easy to deal with plant. I like lemon trees real well too. I don't have one anymore, but I used to have one that was about 50 years old, miniaturized into a pot. Lemons, it was actually not a lemon so much as a mandarin orange tree, made little tiny green oranges that if you squeeze them and drink the juice would fix your sore throat for about an hour. Well, that's not a very long time, but you can drink lemon juice all day long without overdosing on medication. So I always would nurse my colds or the colds of my kids with the green mandarin oranges from that tree. It also had to be brought in or kept warm in the wintertime. Unfortunately, that's the nature of tropicals. They do not take cold. That's why they're called tropical. But lemons are pretty tough. That one actually got frosted once, died all the way down to the roots. I was ready to throw it away, but my Filipino mother-in-law said, no, just give it a chance. It'll come back. And she was right. It grew another several years, no problem. Well, I think you're getting the idea of how to do this now. So we're going to conclude the show today and go take a look at our computer and see if it's broken. If it's malfunctioning to some serious extent, we may not be back here next week, but we will be back. Just give me a chance to work out these technical things. I'm a lot better with plants than I am with machinery. And that computer is old. It wouldn't surprise me if it died, but for whatever reason, we'll be back soon. If not next week, the week after. And I certainly don't want to miss a lot of weeks. I want to keep up with this and keep the show going good. So, good gardening, people. We'll see you next time.